The first time I saw this movie, I just clapped and clapped. I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's so much fun.
I mean, most of the people I think that went to see it, obviously from the trailer, from the title, you knew what you were getting into. But man, I talked to a few people that just hated it.
If I had seen this at home, I would have turned it off. And the only reason why I stayed awake for it here is because I know that I snore and I didn't want to disturb anybody.
New computer. Who dis?
That's right. Fourth rule of Fright Club, run through your computer presentation before the group gets here.
But it's all good now. Welcome, it's Fright Club Live. We are back at Gateway Film Center in Columbus, Ohio, our home away from home now for, what do we say, 9 years?
9 years. This is our 9th
years
season
of Fright Club Live. Thanks to you guys, and we love it. Thanks for coming out. We got a great folk horror tonight.
We do. Yes.
And we're going to talk about drugs. Drug use. Give me drugs. Drug use in horror films. But first, as we always do, we want to say thank you for the great time last time.
Our last podcast was our favorite yearly event, the Skeletons in the Closet, where we talk about the worst horror movies made by Oscar nominees. And it's always fun. It really is. It's like my favorite one all year long. I love that one. And we didn't get a lot of complaints. Corey, our friend Corey, mentioned, rightly so. So we could have done a whole podcast on Jamie Lee Curtis. And to be honest with you, you know what? If she wins on Sunday, and I think there's a good chance
I think she will.
We will. We'll do a whole Jamie Lee Curtis podcast.
But we're going to have to make it a matinee. Have you seen what she said about concerts? She had that whole viral thing about she wants to see Bruce Springsteen at 2 p.m.
Because then it could be 5 hours. She doesn't care. She's still home and in bed by 7:30.
Yeah, so if we make it alive, it's going to have to be
matinee.
A matinee, as she pronounces it.
But Corey took issue with the fact that I thought Mother's Boys was her worst movie, and he says clearly it's Virus, and he's correct. It's Virus. He's right.
She's got a lot. She's got a lot to choose from.
Yes, she does. She's got a lot of good ones too.
She does. No doubt about it.
And so that's really it. That was the only other thing I wanted to talk about. We had a bunch of stuff to talk about coming up.
Okay.
A lot of stuff coming up. And then there were like a billion possible movies to talk about concerning drugs that I thought I might quickly run through.
Yeah, so many so that we had it all done, and you had the list made, and she sent it to me, and I was getting notes, and then she said, oh, my God, I forgot this. And we had to start over again. But we'll get to that.
We ejected one because, as you may know, I'm not allowed to do fuzzy math on the live events.
So we have some that of all the ones that almost made it, there's a couple big ones that you wanted to mention.
Well, two of them are not, I don't think of them as horror movies, but they're sort of the kind of all-time great, very maybe disturbing movies about drugs. I'm not talking about Reefer Madness, but because I don't think they're horror, I didn't make them, put them on the list, even though I really love both movies. One is Requiem for a Dream, which is about as horrific as a film gets.
Oh, it's a rom-com.
And then the other is Naked Lunch.
Naked Lunch,
which you could almost slide in just because it's Cronenberg, and it's such a great movie. But, technically speaking, I don't think it's horror. And then here is, I'm going to read them because there's a bunch. The group that almost made the list: Bliss, Revenge, Rust Creek, Synchronic, Beyond the Black Rainbow, Toad Road, and Blue Sunshine. So those are just under the radar. And Lovely Molly. So Lovely Molly, I'll just tell you right, that's the one that was on the list and got ejected for the one that I forgot. So Lovely Molly is the best of the ones that I just mentioned and did not make the list.
Yeah, which is kind of too bad because I don't think we've ever mentioned that movie once.
It's possible we haven't. I don't know. It's a good one though. It's a good one. It's a little bit frustrating in its structure, but it's dark and it's very creepy. And they're like horse heads.
So you can blame me for putting the clamps down on the fuzzy math,
right.
But we'll find something else for Lovely Molly here to get to. But we've got five examples, great examples, drug use in horror, and we're going to show one of them. That's it's a really great example, and I hope everybody likes it. How many people have seen Hagazusa already? Just 2. Okay, that's good. All right. Well, then we're going to really look forward to your reactions afterwards. As always, love to have you come down and give us your reactions about this movie because I think it's one, especially if you like folk horror.
Yeah.
This is really effective.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing it and talking about it. Okay, so we'll get to the 5 that we did pick though, and this is a good one to start out with from 2011. Wow.
I know.
Where has the time gone, people? This is 5 friends go for a break at a remote cabin where they get more than they bargained for, discovering the truth behind the cabin in the woods.
Have you gone gray?
You're not bringing that thing in the Rambler.
What? A giant bong in your father's van? What are you, stoned? Dina, you fetching minx. You have any food?
I love that clip for many reasons, but the actor playing the stoner, his name was Fran Kranz.
Yeah.
And he went on to write and direct just a couple of years ago, a movie called Mass
Yeah.
that was just great. So much heavy drama, just really 4 people in the cast, and it's astounding how good it is, especially when you're used to seeing him as a stoner. And the other funny thing about that is, in the scene in this movie where they all jump in and go swimming in the lake, but his character keeps his shirt on. That's because, according to the producers, he was ripped. He was swole underneath that, and they thought it didn't go with his character whatsoever, which I think is funny considering Chris Hemsworth is in this cast, who later went on to be, Mr. Jacked Up guy. But yeah, they didn't want to, he can't take his shirt off because he's too ripped, which is just really funny when you consider that character. But that's a funny opening.
It is. That is. It's a great introduction to really. I mean, inside the cabin, the best character. Richard Jenkins. The monitors, the people who are monitoring, there's some great characters over there, but the actual core 5, he's such a great character, and also the things that he says, just these rambling, nonsensical, like what he just said right there, stoner things that he says, they wind up being the truest statements about the film you're about to watch, which I think is also really very funny and clever. I love this movie for a million reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about it just earlier today for no reason I can think of, the elevator ride. Oh my God. The first time I saw this movie, I just clapped and clapped. I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's so much fun. It's one of my all-time favorite horror comedies.
The beginning is fun because they specifically crafted that to try to trick you to thinking you walked into the wrong movie. And then, of course, the end when it just goes batshit and you get to the control room.
Right.
And you can't, there's no possible way you can catch all of the Easter eggs.
Oh, no.
All of
You
the
can't,
references that they're making. And then, of course, you get the big reveal at the end with the big guest star.
Yeah.
Who if you believe the stories, it was originally supposed to be Bruce Campbell. They wanted it to be Bruce Campbell.
Wow.
Which would have also been
Why
very
would
cool.
he have said no to that?
I don't know.
It was good the way it went. It was good the way it went.
It's great.
It's such a fun movie. It's just super fun. And this is the best character, which, as you know, with Chris Hemsworth in the movie, that's a lot for me to admit. Somebody else was better.
And it's amazing to think that Josh Whedon and Drew Goddard, who are behind this, wrote it. They say they wrote the script in 3 days.
Wow.
They were probably high, like that guy. What a great movie to start with, because it's so much fun. And it's funny to put it in the category of drug use. I would think you could find a lot of different categories to put this movie in. And drug use is a funny one, but yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, look at that scene.
Yeah, there are a lot of others where, the drug use is a much more sort of main part of the narrative, but he's just such a fun character, and I wanted to get weed in here. I use a lot. There you go. There's a lot of different drugs that are represented, and I needed one to cover weed, I felt like.
That is number 5. Yeah, you want to cover all the food groups,
That's
all
right.
the drug groups?
Exactly.
Good for you. Cabin in the Woods, number 5 on our list of drug use in horror. Number 4. Now, this is the one that knocked out lovely Molly here at the 11th hour, but you can understand why.
Yeah.
This is from just, weeks ago.
That's right.
An oddball group of cops, criminals, tourists, and teens converge on a Georgia forest where a huge black bear goes on a murderous rampage after unintentionally ingesting cocaine. Cocaine Bear.
Apex predator. High on cocaine. Out of his mind. Oh man, you
What's wrong with that bear? Shoot it, man! Bear, speed up!
Higher, baby, and don't ever come down.
We have such good luck in nature.
Has everybody seen Cocaine Bear? Oh man, so many things about it. I love they used the song "White Lines." Which
Oh
is
my God,
perfect,
I know.
Of course, and the more I thought about it, and this trailer only reconfirms it. I love the Isaiah Whitlock character. That guy just cracks me up every time he says, "Let's see what kind of effect that has on him." I love that, and there's so many characters that are funny here, but I love that guy.
Oh yeah, he was great. Margot Martindale was great. The kid, oh my God, Henry, the little boy.
In
First
the
of all,
tree.
it's little kids with Southern accents gut me. I can't get enough. But that kid was so funny, and I loved everything about this movie. I thought the tone was perfect. The soundtrack was so perfect. The blue eyeshadow on that EMT, oh my God, glorious. But and with all the carnage and all of the insanity that went on, the fact that she had 2 children put big spoonfuls of cocaine in their mouth. I was like, yes!
I know.
Oh my God, I couldn't get over that. It was so funny. Well, I do it on the street. Oh my God, I love that kid.
I love how much they just lean. The director's Elizabeth Banks, I didn't
Yes.
know, which is great. And she just leaned into the carnage, the blood. Yeah, let's see more guts.
Oh, yeah.
More spillage.
Yes.
And the drug use leaned into that and just went for
And
it,
it was
which is
very-
the perfect tone for this
It was
movie.
pretty pro-drug, really.
Yeah.
At the end, like the one skate punk is like, okay, he's got a living ahead of him when he gets to New York City. He's thinking it through. Yeah, I just thought it was hysterical.
It is a hoot, and I find it almost hard to believe that apparently Cocaine Bear was just a working title for
Oh
this
my God.
until they thought of something better. Like, you're going to think of something better than Cocaine Bear.
Well, what that makes me think of is that Samuel L. Jackson signed on to do the film Snakes on a Plane, and that was a placeholder title. So then he saw at the end, before it came out, that they were going to call it Flight 7019, and he goes, "The fuck you are." He's like, no, this movie is called Snakes on a Plane.
Damn right.
And it was, and that was smart.
Yeah, it's just perfect. And I found it funny too. Hey, hi. Most of the people I think that went to see it, obviously from the trailer, from the title, you knew what you were getting into. But man, I talked to a few people that just hated it, which I found was funny because you kind of should
Or
know
dumb.
ahead of time whether it's your bag or not.
You're really right there. It's just the title alone. But if you watch the trailer, I don't know how you can complain. If you watch the trailer and that lured you to see it, all it does is deliver on that promise.
does.
It just delivers
Yeah,
on that
it
promise.
does. Let's see what kind of effect that has on it. I love that. So that's number 4 on our list of drug use in horror. This might be maybe the most recent film that's made its way, except for the couple times we had premieres.
Right.
The most recent film that made into it. So well done, Cocaine Bear.
That's right.
Number
Good
4.
for you.
Let's move it up to number.
Instant classic.
Yeah, moving up to number 3. This is a pretty recent. From 2018, French dancers gather in a remote, empty school building to rehearse on a wintry night, and the all-night celebration morphs into a hallucinatory nightmare when they learn their sangria is laced with LSD. It's Gaspar Noé's climax.
If you couldn't dance, what would you do? Suicide?
I think we were talking about Gaspar Noé in Happy Hour.
We were.
And how he's a filmmaker. I don't like all his movies, but I always want to see what he's doing because he's always pushing the envelope. And this actually was one of his best reviewed movies, which made him uncomfortable because he believes movies should be divisive and make people uncomfortable. And this one got pretty good reviews. This one, I like it.
Yeah, I don't ever want to watch it again because of that. The pulse, it just gives me a migraine. It's just that pulsating noise. It's very effective.
Mm-hmm.
You feel completely trapped and overwhelmed and nuts, which is how you're supposed to feel when you watch this movie. I remember we screened this. We reviewed this one, and a friend of ours came with us, a big horror fan, who had at the time her son was 4 years old. And there's a child in this movie, and I'd not seen it before, but still she goes, "That kid is going to be okay, right?" And I thought, "You're new to Gaspar Noé, aren't you?"
Yes.
No, he's not going to be okay.
No, none of us are going to be okay.
No, none of us.
But it's one of his trademarks. Is he likes to just batter your senses in all ways. And this one is so well. You could see by the trailer. It's the sound and the color and the constant movement. Most of the cast were not trained actors. Sophia Boutella is the lead. She, of course, is. The rest were just mainly dancers, not professional actors. And it's so visually
and it's
striking.
On a true event.
Yeah, apparently, I think it's a mix of, depending on who you believe, / urban legend / true event. Maybe there's some in there. And a lot of it is they're filmed in long takes, including the beginning piece of choreography where at the final, in the opening, the final poses of the dancers, they spell out acid. And just a little foreshadowing what's going on. And he plays with, as he also likes to do, he plays with the chronology of things. He doesn't get the opening credits until into the film, and then you get the opening credits at the end, and you get some of the end credits at the beginning, and he just tries to throw you off balance. And of course, once they realize, as the synopsis says, they've been drugged, well then, holy shit, all bets are off. You know, what's real, what's not, and are they going to get through the night? I think it's a fascinating experience, like most of his movies are experiences.
Yeah, I do. I like this one. I just don't want to watch it again because it gives me a migraine.
That is Climax number. What are we up to? Number 3.
Number 3
on our drug use and drug use and horror. And we got to get moving because this is going to go up to the one that we're going to see tonight. So we're not going to talk much about it, but it is Paranoia and Superstition in 15th Century Europe from 2017. Hagazusa.
I'm very excited for you guys to watch this movie. I'm very excited that you get to watch it on a big screen the first time you see it because it's absolutely gorgeous, atmospheric, beautiful film. Drug use doesn't have a giant. It's not like a through line at all. But once drugs are used, shit goes seriously south. And so I mean, it was but the truth is there are 3 topics that I associate with this movie, and 2 of them I couldn't do because it's an absolute spoiler if I stated it up front, because you're going to be surprised, especially if you haven't seen it, but you're going to be surprised when it happens. So we went with drug use, although I do think that it is an important element of this film.
Yeah, and we don't want to spoil anything for anybody because I think only 2 people have seen it.
Yep.
But a couple things to remember. It was the graduation film of the director, Lucas Feigenfeld. His graduation film is this freaking good. And not only that, but I don't think he's done anything since then.
No.
Which is equally unbelievable.
It is. It really is.
And the actors, it will remind you probably in some instances of The Witch.
Yeah.
But the actors here, all the lines are in, and there's not that much dialogue to it, really. But it's all in an Austrian dialect variant of the German language. And other than that, I think we want to know what you think about it after it's over.
But it does, I mean, to me, it has a very Robert Eggers feel about it.
Oh, yes. Very much so. So we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. And that's number 2.
1 hour and 40 minutes later.
Don't do drugs, kids. What do we think? Weird, yeah. I think we've mentioned, I know I've mentioned a few times how much I appreciate visual storytelling. And boy, there's a lot of it here. How many pages of dialogue do you think is in this movie? Like 2 or 3?
Yeah, not very many.
Yeah, but man, some of the shots, like that closing shot there,
it's gorgeous.
and just so many great shots that just move the story along without dialogue being necessary. I personally always love that.
Yeah, I also really love the score in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's just so foreboding and atmospheric. And I feel so bad for Albrin.
Oh.
She's just got it tough, man. Things don't go well for her. And who painted the skull? None of the other skulls were painted.
Yeah. And
I
just
don't know.
when she thought she had a friend, maybe.
I know. Oh, that one.
Crushing.
As usual, movie where we have to digest it for a while because it's so weird. But for me, the sound design was just incredible. The crunching of the snow.
Oh, yeah.
at the beginning, and just the sound was almost as good as the visuals.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The
Those are the
bubbling
stars of the movie.
cauldron that you hear,
Yeah.
before you even see it. Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. The sound design in this movie is just glorious.
And even you mentioned the score. I think a lot of movies, especially in the last several years, have used a variation of that foreboding, almost an ambient note. But this one really, really, really does it well.
I don't like talking in front of people, so sorry about that. But I thought it was honestly very beautiful. I just looking at it. I'm an artist. I love seeing great screen composition, the amount of just dark to light contrast and everything. And I love folk horror's use of just culture. Like, it almost seems like they really take their time to get into horror, but when that horror comes, I just love that it's just full of dread and it's just gothic feel, and it's nothing jumps out at you. You just feel very bad for everybody involved.
That's a great.
Yeah, that's
I love
right
your
on.
point about dark and light. The scene when she has the neighbor in her house, and she's kind of in shadow, and the neighbor is just lit up in this just beautiful, glorious way, and it's just such a great composition, and it's so sort of. It doesn't speak to like the inside of these people. It's really just more like this is the life they have. This one gets to walk in the sunshine, and this poor woman has to live in the shadows. It's just, it's a gorgeous movie.
Yeah, and in that scene too, I love how instantly the baby doesn't like that woman.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole parable of forbidden fruit that she's
Yeah.
offering this shiny apple and all that stuff.
yeah.
It just always, it just works on that visual storytelling, even though there's a little bit of dialogue there. But yeah, very symbolic. Yeah, that's a great scene and a good point about light and shadow. We've stumped them.
I know. I worried about this one. Like, I wasn't sure how this one was going to go over, and I don't know how it did go over now.
That's all right. Here we go.
There were definitely a few movies that it called to mind. In terms of the use of music, the first thing that came to mind was There Will Be Blood.
Oh, sure.
I thought the scores kind of function in a very similar way, and I'll be curious to look up more of the composer of this film's score because it was excellent. It was sort of a reverse A Field in England, if anyone's seen that weird movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But sort of in reverse.
Yeah.
Things don't kind of like turn out well in this go-round. It reminded me of a little bit of the weird movie Electroma in terms of how sparse it is. That's like Daft Punk's weird movie where there's no dialogue and they're just robots walking around to a few, it's mostly silence, but there's a few songs thrown in. There were a few others that it called to mind. I think, The Revenant, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it reminded me of The Revenant because it's sort of operating in this primitive, sort of primeval. They're at the edge of civilization, but they're kind of at the edge of like light and shadow.
Yeah.
And I thought that was all done really well.
One of the ones that reminds me of, which is a film we showed here not that long ago, November. And it's really vice versa. When I saw the film November, I thought, that reminds me of Hagazusa. But I thought of it again watching it today.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that you exposed me to these kind of movies. With that said, if I had seen this at home, I would have turned it off. And the only reason why I stayed awake for it here is because I know that I snore and I didn't want to disturb anybody. But thank you? ?
We appreciate the honesty. We really do.
I mean, you said don't do drugs, but like at this time, what are you supposed to do? Like all there is to do is like survive, witchcraft, masturbate, and drugs.
Yeah. None of them turned out that well for her.
No.
No.
As we get up to number one on our list
You're gonna
of
be happy.
drug use and horror, somebody who wore
You're
a
going to be happy.
T-shirt there has some foreshadowing. This is from 2018. The enchanted lives of a couple in a secluded forest are brutally shattered by a nightmarish hippie cult and their demon biker henchmen in Mandy.
So what you gonna do with that thing?
I'm going hunting.
So what you hunting?
It's crazy evil.
wrong with you? You exude the cosmic darkness.
It glowed from within, strange and eternal.
You may be asking yourself, why did she choose the Japanese trailer? Because wasn't it awesome? I'm so sorry that I couldn't get the PowerPoint to show you the whole screen because it's such a great trailer.
This is a fun movie. Yeah, and I remember when we showed this. We had was this the premiere? Do we have the premiere of
We had
this?
the premiere of it, yeah.
Oh, so much fun. And it's also visually striking. With all the colors, obviously, and how they change throughout as the narrative changes. And, of course, it's got one of the all-timers from Nicolas Cage. Come on in. Hey, come on in. Yeah, Nicolas Cage is as Nicolas Cagey, I think, as you can imagine him in this movie.
And it's funny, so it's Panos Cosmatos, sorry about that, the filmmaker, he made another movie, Beyond the Black Rainbow, which is also all about drugs, and is very specifically time-stamped in the 80s, but it's a completely wildly different, it's very aesthetic and sort of medicinal. It's like a Cronenberg film, whereas this is like a Ronnie James Dio album cover or something. But everything about this movie and the way it builds to like more and more unhinged insanity that by the time the movie's over, Nicolas Cage almost seems too subdued an actor for the film.
Yeah, if that's hard to believe.
It is.
And interesting, when Panos first approached him to be in the movie, apparently he wanted him to play the cult leader.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, and Cage did not want to. And I guess, and according to an interview that Cage gave with, I think, GQ a few years ago, they parted. They couldn't come to an agreement. They just parted and let it go for about a year. And then Elijah Wood, of all people, acted as an intermediary, got them back together, and they discussed it in more detail, and it was decided that, they would get with Cage playing Red instead.
He may have been a producer, because Elijah
he has
Wood,
been producing, hasn't he?
Produces a lot of really great horror films.
Yeah, so credit to Elijah with that. And they showed a little bit of the trailer. One of the memorable parts of this movie, of course, the chainsaw fight, which, according to Panos, had to be done in one night. And he described that as a living hell to shoot that thing. But man,
it's
is
so
it
effective.
cool.
It's so effective. You know, anything, when you have cannibal bikers on LSD, and that's like a minor part of your film, and it's like such a minor part of the lunacy that you almost forget that there are cannibal bikers on LSD. That's a nutty movie.
And then,
my God, this is a fun film.
As if that wasn't enough, Cheddar Goblin.
Cheddar Goblin! we not only do we have a Cheddar Goblin magnet, we have a jigsaw puzzle of
Cheddar Goblin.
Yeah.
That just puts it over the top.
It is.
That one is, of course, is going to be number one on drug use and horror. And as usual, on the Fright Club Lives, we're up against it here. But that's a good thing because we have to show Hagazusa.
We do. So we have two quick things to say. One is that Skinamarink is going to be here, 35 millimeter.
With director Kyle Edward Ball.
Right. So about probably 75% of you hated Skinamarink. That's all right. Stay home. The other 30% who used to have that nightmare the whole time you were growing up, come out and say that to Kyle Edward Ball. Be like, how did you know what I was terrified by when I was 4?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I did enjoy the movie very much.
And you're going to do the QA.
Yeah, we're going to do the QA, and he's tweeted about it a couple times. He's really excited to be here. So we would love to have you come out. It's going to be a good night with Skinamarinky Dinky Doo.
That's right. And then our next Fright Club Live, we are going to show, because of the poll that we took a few weeks ago, and we found that it was a shocking number of people had never seen the movie Session 9. So we are going to show Session 9. And we are going to do a podcast on The Patient. So we're going to look at some of the creepiest patients across all of horror
I like
films.
that. That is April 12th. Yeah, I was surprised. That was Richard's poll that told us that so many people had not seen Session 9, which is kind of it was a surprise, but a good surprise because it led us down the path of having this movie to show. So that was one where you just kind of called up Chris. Can we get Session 9? Boom, done.
That's right.
It's booked. So looking forward to that on April 12th. All right. We're going to show Hagazusa, and we hope you come down as always. This is one where it's definitely got a lot to talk about afterwards. So we'd love to get your opinions and get you on the podcast when it's all done here. And it's about 90 minutes or so, right? Not too long.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty brief.
Yeah. So hope you enjoy it. It's coming up soon. We'll look forward to talking about it afterwards. And you can always find us, of course. We'll get this podcast edited down. Should be up Monday or Tuesday. You can find us on all the usual socials. It's Fright Club Pod on Twitter. It's madwolf.com is our website. Of course, Mad Wolf Columbus on Facebook and Instagram. And we've got if you didn't know, we do have the Fright Club Podcast group on Facebook. If you haven't joined that, please do, because we have some fun in there as well. So lots of ways to keep in touch. We hope you will. Enjoy Hagazusa. And until next time, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club Podcast.
You guys are awesome. Enjoy the movie. Stan, hit